Hello and welcome to the Film Lovers Guide to the Galaxy. My name is Jared. I am here with Joe and Johnny as always. And tonight we are talking musicals, everybody. Everything musicals. But first, we're going to get into a little bit of what have we been watching, what have we been playing, what have we been consuming. Joe, buddy, in the last week, what have you been watching?
I watched the topic of what we're going to talk about today, which we'll get to in a second.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been watching a lot of Battlefield clips because I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, so
The
E3
2042.
happened.
Yeah.
Battlefield looks pretty good. It looks
Yeah.
pretty fun.
I didn't really watch all of E3. It's been sort of getting worse over time. And
Yeah,
I pick and
I
choose
feel
what
you.
I'm into. I was also a big Diablo fan, so I think the Diablo remake's going to be really cool.
I think that looks great.
Yeah. And
I am really
then
hyped for that.
I don't know what it was, something else. I forgot what it was, but yeah, that's really about it. I've been just sort of a little bit more busy as of late, but I that's sort of what I did. Just a little bit of video
Cool.
games, a little bit of movies.
Cool, man. Yeah, I think the COVID is really hitting the games industry pretty hard right now. It we kind of heard the rumblings of it, like, hey, don't expect a lot, but wow, this E3 was pretty bad, except for the chaos memes with the Final Fantasy and everything like that. It looked.
Oh yeah, that's right. That does look really good.
I will say the Nintendo Direct looked had some cool, like Metroid. I'm really hyped for Mario Golf coming out next week. Man, I'm gonna play the hell out of that on my Switch. Gonna move on to Johnny. Johnny, what have you been watching this week?
This week is all musicals, so I
Yeah,
revisited
buddy.
a lot of the musicals that some are on my list and some that unfortunately couldn't make it. So that's pretty cool to watch. Speaking of E3, yeah, I agree with you guys. Like it is kind of died down. If you guys don't know, I used to work at GameStop, and every other year they used to give me passes to go to E3, and so that
Hell
was
yeah.
always really fun for me to go. I remember the one year, that was the year before Arkham Knight came out. And this is when they introduced the new Batmobile, and they had like a display there, and it's like the huge ass Batmobile. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, outside of Battlefield, Elder Ring looks like a pretty cool game that I would be into, simply because I'm like, okay, I wonder what George R. R. Martin's writing. So he ain't gonna finish any of those Game of Thrones books, whatever.
No,
But
of course not.
we'll just wait. We'll just see what else he's gonna do. Forza is always a good looking game. I think I've just outgrown racing games at this point, unfortunately, unless I have like the whole like set, the steering wheel, the pedals. It's just outgrown. But man, those games look like any of the Forza's games. I think in terms of like me wanting to play, Forza has like exceeded what Gran Turismo used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to love Gran Turismo, but Forza, there's such an ease to kind of play. So I'm looking forward to checking that out.
The last driving game I got into was Burnout Paradise, I think it's
That
Burnout
was a
Paradise
fun game.
That was a really fun game.
And it was such a fun game to hang out with your friends and like pass the controller around. I feel there's not a lot of those anymore. It was just so fun, just crashing, the crash mode and all that stuff, and boy. But yeah, I'm trying to think about anything else that was at E3 that really caught my eye.
Actually, Outer Worlds 2, I'm kind of excited for,
Okay,
because Outer Worlds was a really sleeper hit. I mean, Dakota loved the first one, like absolutely, because it reminded her a lot about Fallout, and those type of games are pretty fun to play. So watching Outer Worlds 2, I'm like, oh, they're going to get a little bit bigger, but still be contained. That looks pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a great kind of return to form for the old school kind of Fallout, kind of that kind of stuff with the new school aesthetic. Yeah, what have I been watching? I mean, we've all been watching the NBA playoffs. Just absolute insanity. The day we're recording this is the couple days after the Bucks lost a huge lead, and then the day after the 76ers, the night after, lost a huge lead. like I'm sitting there just like wide-eyed typing in the group chat of like what is fucking happening. And I forgot during the pandemic era, I forgot how much I loved seeing people watching their team live be disappointed in their team. It's such a magical, like, oh, kind of thing, you know?
It's funny because it normally is the actual opposite, right? Because usually these teams
Yeah.
ascend to what it is, but the past couple games it's just been the other way around. It's just like, the Bucks blew that lead, and then Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons look at Giannis and said, "Hold my coffee," and then
Yeah.
they decided to take and just kind of blow it. But I mean, by the time this thing releases, who knows? Both of them
Yeah.
might probably make it if that's the
Yeah,
case.
exactly. Other than that, I've been watching, I've been catching on a couple musicals. But I've also been watching the true crime on Peacock about John Wayne Gacy, the serial killer, and it's pretty well done. I really like it. They're talking to a lot of the detectives from the time. They're really getting into that, and I hadn't seen one. So I noticed like there's been some talk lately about this whole, why are we making shows like this about serial killers? Is our mind and hearts in the right place? Are we talking these guys up too much? Or, blah blah blah. Are we venerating them? Mostly around Ted Bundy, because everybody talks about how smart he was, how brilliant. Da, da, da. And I hate like the Zac Efron movie. Did you guys see that, Zach? The extremely loud and incredibly whatever?
So boring.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it
It was
really
unnecessary.
was just kind of okay, but I felt it played into him being like this dashing, like, oh, like Ted Bundy is a cool guy. He just happened to kill, a bunch of women.
Is that
And like,
historically correct, though? I think it was, right? That's the whole point. That's why it's creepy.
some of it was, but I'm talking about the tone about these movies. Like, these guys are fucking losers. These guys are maniacs, and they're the fucking dirt worst of society.
Well, I
we
mean,
we shouldn't be like, people are like, oh, like it good example is in that movie is like, or it happened in real life too, like this the judge that he was practicing, so he decided to represent himself, and he was like, oh, I'm so charismatic, and the judge was like, oh, if it be too bad it was, in another life you'd be practicing law in my courtroom. And it's like, why are we stroking these guys' egos? Like, why are we, what are we making these for? And it's like, I like the true crime podcasts that I listen to that just makes fun of these guys, because they deserve to be made fun of, because they're pieces of shit. I don't know, like, that's just my little soapbox, but like, I don't know, how have you guys been uncomfortable watching any of these, because it kind of makes them into like these kind of mythical figures in our society?
I wouldn't say I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah,
I understand the purpose, and hopefully, one of the purposes to be as accurate as possible. So I know that they had.
totally.
I remember seeing a video. I forgot who it is. It's a pretty popular video. It's a video of an old dating show where it's like, oh, it's a girl here, and then she listens to the voice of three dudes, and they'll ask
Okay,
her
yeah,
questions,
yeah.
right? And this is a very popular video. And one of them used to be a serial killer, and it was the one in the middle, and she was asking him questions. He was a very, very smooth dude, very well put together, very good answers. She ends up going on a date with him, but she luckily had like creepy-ish vibes, and she didn't meet him with later. And it turns out he killed like 28 women or some crazy shit. So, in terms of accuracy for that kind of thing,
Yeah, I
you
agree
know,
with you, Joe. I think accuracy is paramount. I think that
yeah,
should usurp everything. I also think the tone should be more, hey, this is what it happened, this is what led to it, because that stuff's really fascinating. Like, what
probably, but they
created
would
this
stop making
monster?
them though. The whole point
Totally.
of,
Yeah,
unfortunately, the whole point of this is to make money or to make good content that people would watch.
I think they're capitalizing on like the true crime boom that happened in these
Maybe,
last few
yeah.
years.
Yeah, especially
Um,
with Serial, with the podcast, and then just kind of spurn from
yeah,
there. I think it has to thread a line, like a fine
totally.
line to like
Hmm.
you don't want to sensationalize it,
Sensationalize. Yeah.
right? But at the same time, it's got to be interesting enough that it's not something we just read in the paper and just get facts about, right? So, but it is a
That's a
fine line to kind of walk
great
through.
points. Yeah. Yeah, guys. Like what else have I been watching? Oh, I've been rewatching some anime, you know. It's kind of like my summer right now. So I'm playing video games and watching stuff I've watched before, going back to the old comfies. The movie we watched this week was In the Heights. The latest from Lin-Manuel Miranda. Johnny, do you want to talk about this movie first? I'd love to hear what you think. Maybe a small little plot synopsis. You know, not too spoilery, but
Yeah, so In the Heights was a Broadway play from Lin-Manuel Miranda. This is his kind of like opening salvo before Hamilton got big for him. Takes place in Washington Heights. Basically, our guy Usnavi is our lead character, and we kind of get to know about the people in the neighborhood, their dreams. Swanito, I think that's the word. Like they kind of bring up this theme of what home is and what home looks like, and that's kind of like the through line through the rest of this movie. If you've seen Hamilton, or if you've ever seen any Lin-Manuel Miranda musical, it has the same beats. To me, I can see where the music that he did in this movie kind of got to where Hamilton is. All that being said, this is the first great movie of 2021.
ooh,
I
okay.
absolutely love this movie. This movie not only satisfies the factor of what a musical is, it's just fun. I enjoy pretty much every song. I think Anthony Ramos as the lead guy as Usnavi is really good. But the surprising character that's in is Benny, played by Corey Hawkins. I think he is the most charming out of them. He shows a lot of the most depth. And there's not a lot of stars in this movie. I mean, the most recognizable people in this movie is Jimmy Smits and Mark Anthony. And Mark Anthony, if you blink, you might have missed him. Because
The
first of
last
all,
time I saw Mark Anthony in a movie that I remember is Man on Fire.
right? So like those are your big name stars. Everyone is new. They kind of fill their roles. Yes, Lin-Manuel Miranda's in there, but he has a really small part. I just think that this movie is kind of like a celebration of community, of home, and is just so loving. Uh, and it is coming out at the right time. It's
Yeah.
directed by John M. Chu, so his last movie was Crazy Rich Asians. So there is a flourish to this movie that I enjoy. Um, this is my first A of the year. This is how
Okay.
good I think
Great.
this movie is. So by far, this is the best movie of 2021 so far. Still a young year, but it is one of the best one I've seen so far.
Yeah. Joe, what did you think about it? First off, actually, before we get to Joe's going to be included in this question. What is your guys' history with musicals, Joe? What is your history with watching,
Yeah,
enjoying, going to musicals, anything like that?
yeah. I was part of a pit orchestra for a couple of years.
I remember that.
Yeah, that really opened my eyes on how much I like musicals. I'm a big fan of musicals. I've been watching for a decade now at this point. Um, in both a film format, also in a Broadway format as well. Although Broadway format is a little bit harder to sort of get to. And I think there's a certain level of talent involved in Broadway. I guess all of these movies are sort of Broadway based because that's sort of the original. And so you can't. It's hard, I guess, to sort of lip sync in Broadway. I'm sure it's possible. A lot of it, all of it's live. And I have a lot of respect for people who do this kind of thing. A lot of respect for the people, the music behind it, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm a huge fan of musicals. It might be one of my my what do you call it, guilty pleasures, so to speak.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's sort of how I feel about the whole thing. So this was a great topic for me. I don't know about
I
you guys.
remember I remember going to see the musicals in high school that APA performed, and I looked
Yeah,
up and Joe was right there
yeah,
for the Music Man, and I was like,
yeah.
"Oh,
It was
Joe's
really
here."
fun, really fun. It was fantastic, and
Uh,
a lot of hard
yeah,
work, but it was worth it.
Johnny, what's your relationship with musicals?
with me, it started a lot with like my family used to watch Paris by Night a lot. So I know it's not a musical, but that's kind of where I got music from, and it's seeing it in Vietnamese because they have a lot of skits with it that
Hmm.
kind of go through like Vietnamese opera, more or less how I would describe it. And so once I got to American musicals, it was a little bit different. I always
Hmm.
tell Dakota this is because like in seventh grade, there had a middle school production of Annie, and I was in that production, so I got to see firsthand. Granted, I was, you know,
You were an Annie?
well, yes. So you know how the president was in there, FDR, like,
Yes.
yeah, I was the guy pushing his wheelchair.
I thought you were gonna say I was FDR.
No, yeah, I just took the best
Aggressive.
parts I could do.
Wait.
So
Oh, this was in seventh grade.
yeah, I was in seventh grade.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Okay.
This is before I got to Huntington Beach in eighth grade and Springview and everything. So that's kind of like little introduction. But I kind of, I've always liked uh, seeing people sing and kind of doing that within a stage format or in a film format because I can't sing worth a lick, and I think that's always impressive to kind of look and see.
Yeah, man, I have loved musicals forever. I grew up watching them. I've talked about my grandma a lot on this podcast and episodes past, and she's kind of the one with my mom who really introduced them to me. I grew up in the house just watching, West Side Story, Sound of Music, like Funny Girl. Mary Poppins was a huge one for me when I was growing up, and I've carried that love through like now. I go see at the Pantages or local theater or in like live performances as much as I can. And I know people think they're very hokey and tacky and like, oh god, they're just gonna sing right. Nobody says a thing, and it's like, wait, you can suspend your disbelief for a fucking Fast and Furious movie, but you can't suspend your disbelief for people expressing themselves through song. Like that's just so wild to me that like there's that disconnect for people.
I think what helped me a lot was The Simpsons because when those musical numbers hit,
Yeah,
they're fun. They
yeah.
they go within the show, but it
Alf
kind of shows
Clausen
the
was
rings.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah, so I mean, who doesn't still have like monorail stuck in their head when they think about
yeah,
that episode, right? And so
yeah. Which the Music Man basically.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
you know that it's based off
correct.
Pool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, but like I didn't know that when I watch The Simpsons, right? So I think that's kind of where the give is because they're always parroting or satiring something, and I think that actually helps people kind of go into and kind of see what they're kind of doing.
yeah. I like a lot of people. My first musical, I think, might have been Grease. I feel that's everybody. That's a lot of people's like intro to musicals when they're
West Side
young.
Story is my. It's
West
one
Side
or the
Story was
two.
yours.
Yeah, West Side
Yeah,
Story.
West
So
Side Story or Grease. Grease is just so accessible on film. It's got John Travolta, it's got Olivia Newton-John, it's got all of these songs, and then I feel you graduate to other ones and that kind of stuff. Um, but yeah, so going back to In the Heights, Joe, what did you think about it?
Yeah, very good, very good. I give it an A minus just off the bat, just because I think I have other musicals that I like a little bit better. So, relatively speaking, A minus. If people are familiar with Lin-Manuel's work, we know that he's an actor, he's a rapper, he's a everything. He's a bit of everything, but his style is very unique, which is very cool. Very cool. I like it. So you can see his influence on In the Heights, and I think the story overall was done well. And at the same time, it's based on something that's tried and true because it was a Broadway. So it was like a nice little home run, I think. And uh, I think people had good expectations for it, but at the same time, it was already sort of fleshed out before the movie was completely made, which is good. So it came down to how well the people that were starring in it to do well in it, and how well the scenes in between are done outside of the song and dance. And
Yeah.
so in that sense, I didn't think it was like super ultra mega amazing. I think it was good, and I think the musical numbers were great, which is why I pretty much give it an A minus. Um, I liked it overall. I was very much enthralled the whole time. The post credit scene was pretty funny. I don't know why he needs to be on an ice shaving machine. That was kind of funny as well. Um, I think the interesting thing is I do hear a lot of complaints about, and I guess this comes down to you can't please everyone sort of thing. Is that I know that there are other people from what I'm reading. So this is from what I'm hearing is people who are very much pro Black Lives Matter are saying there's not enough Black people representation in this movie, and it's very very Puerto Rican Latin focused, which it is. Like that's the whole point. It's
But
not
I
meant to
think
disparage anyone. I don't think.
so.
Right?
So from there are some issues about about this whole thing. Like Joe said, there's a little bit of backlash against In the Heights, and it sparks a debate about colorism in movies. Um, they cut out. They had to because Broadway shows are typically really long. Like, there's an intermission and all that stuff. So there was a storyline in the film that was cut involving a Black Latinx person. So that was cut, and I think that a lot of the issues also stemmed around the Black Latinx community being pushed to the background. They were in scenes, quote unquote, but they're pushed to the background, and it's really not representative of that community they live in. And I can totally I completely see that. Like when I found out that they cut a full story of a black Latinx person from it was a main story from the Broadway show to the transition to this. It's like, okay, well, what the fuck, you know? Like I think he came out and said I'm listening. He said all the right things. You know, I can't say anything beyond that except I mean my opinion doesn't really matter. I'm a half white, half Japanese guy, but so but yeah, that's kind of the controversy going on right now about it. Um, but yeah, going off of what Joe said, I'd definitely give it an A. I don't want to parrot everything else everybody else said, but I definitely I really enjoyed my time with this film. I think that the numbers were really good. The story was great. Yeah, like Johnny, you were right. It kind of hit at the right time. Everything's starting to open up. It's getting hot. This feels like a good start to the summer movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's a good opening to that. It's a good like, oh shit, yeah, we're back because we're not back, but it's oh fuck, everything's starting to feel a little bit lighter. If this movie came out last year, it'd be like, I don't know if this is the right time for that. It's a little too, I don't think we're in the mood for a musical. Hamilton was great because I didn't think it was. I think it released at the right time because it wasn't. It was very different than that. You know what I'm trying to say? Like it was very different from what In the Heights is trying to do.
Correct.
And plus, it was just a filming of the stage show, which is totally fun. It's good. So,
Yeah. So, what are your guys' favorite number from this movie?
oh God,
Like mine personally is the 96,000. That whole number was so set up and done really
yeah,
well.
I think that's definitely mine as well. It's very very good. I love
My, I would
they're
say
in the
my favorite
pool.
is the blackout one. I think.
Oh yeah, the whole
Yeah,
blackout one is really good too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I like that one.
I love. I think I love the thing. Speaking of the 96,000 part, I love the sounds of the not just the music, but like the sounds, the ambient noises, everything that just kind of makes you feel like you're there in the city. I think they did a really good job with that. because this could have been really sterile. It could have just been really condensed, that kind of stuff. But I think they definitely hit a home run, like Joe said.
Yeah, I mean, it was fleshed out before the movie started, and it's already won a Tony. Come on, it was gonna be great.
We're gonna move on to our personal lists right now.
I am so excited right now. My favorite topic, and I'm wondering whether or not, because it's such a broad thing, that if we'll have any overlaps.
I think, it's going to be really interesting because I was having lunch with my friend yesterday who was in APA, the Academy for Performing Arts in high school. And she was in the Music Man. She was in Damn Yankees. She was in a ton of these things.
I probably know this person. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. We've known each other since second grade not second grade, fifth grade. So we've been friends a really long time. She lives in my neighborhood, and we were talking about this. She gives me this long list when I tell her it's going to be the podcast thing for today. So it was really, really funny to hear people's opinions on musicals and like, okay, well, is it going to be adaptation or is it going to be movie? Is it going to be this? Or is it going to be that? Because I was like, okay. So she gives me like, okay, this is my favorite top 5 adaptations. This is my top 5 this. This is my top 5 that. I'm like, this is my 5 worst. I want at some point tonight to let's give some of our worst ones we've seen. But right now,
okay, I'll think about that while we work.
I don't have to think about that. I have 2 right on top
of
my head.
I got right off the bat, buddy. But we're gonna go with number 5 from Johnny. What's your number 5 favorite musical?
To show you how eclectic this list is, this is the only movie that genuinely doesn't have an original song in it. I think this movie actually works well because the a cappella version of each one that they've done works to its benefit. I'm talking about Pitch Perfect.
Okay.
This movie, I get it. A lot of these musicals have been written specifically for stage, or they have music written for the movie itself. This one doesn't. A lot of it is on the pure fact of a cappella, which might piss off a lot of people that love musicals, right? In terms of using everything else around them. But I genuinely love this movie. I think, everyone wonders where Anna Kendrick came from. This is the movie that kind of boomed her into the spotlight. I think the melodies from the Bellas and then the Bardens, they work so well in integrating, new music with old classics.
Mm-hmm.
Plus Higgins and Elizabeth Banks together commentating, it just is hilarious to me, and it just kind of gives the effect as well when it comes to that. So number 5 is Pitch Perfect, and the best scene in that movie, because I'll give you every pick, I'll give my best musical scene. It is the riff off. The riff off to me is the best part.
Johnny, if movie. They made a whole damn movie with just the riff off, I would fucking watch it every day.
It is that part of the movie made me separate it from the list because it just was so different. But yeah, absolutely love it. That Pitch Perfect makes it a number 5.
Good one. Joe, what's your number 5?
What, man? I like the people in Pitch Perfect, but I personally don't think that they're able to pull that shit off in Broadway. Just my opinion. My number 5 is Hairspray.
That's a great one, Joe.
Yeah.
Which version of Hairspray?
I've seen the Travolta one. I've seen a live one, and I've also seen like a British adaptation. Mm-hmm. Again, a lot of these have at the core about the same. But it's very interesting because, the whole spiel with Hairspray is that you have to have a male play the mom. Mm-hmm. And we all know that John Travolta's kind of weird as of the last couple of years. And
kinda.
And it's interesting that he accepted this role because it kind of fit into the weirdness. Don't get me wrong. This is a guy who played Grease. It's awesome. He knows how to song and dance. Okay, I have no doubts about that. He's been in the career for years and decades and decades and decades, so he knows what's up. And I think he did an excellent job in Hairspray. Now, I understand it's all pre-recorded, it's a movie and all that kind of stuff. So I'm saying it in the sense that the Hairspray, the musical on Broadway, is also good. I like the concept. I like the music. I like the story. I think it's very well put together, and I think it's a very good baseline of what a musical should be. There are a lot of classics out there, so for those who are listening, there's going to be a lot of musicals out there that I did not put on this list. It's just a personal preference. For example, The Music Man, I did not make it on my top 5. I
Ooh.
love The Music Man. Okay, Secret Garden, love Secret Garden. Did not put it into my. So again, like Jared's friend said, there are a ton of musicals out there. This is just me in terms of enjoyment. So my top 5 would be in the order of how much I just sort of enjoyed them, and that's what we're going with. But Hairspray is my number 5.
Awesome. My boy, it's been it this list was so hard for me to put together. But if we're really talking about my favorite, um number 5 I think it's the Blues Brothers, because it's so it reveres that style of music so much. It gives homage to rhythm and blues music. It treats it with such respect. You have James Brown, you have fucking all of these people in the movie. You have Cab Calloway, you have all of these old timers performing with these guys, and they're not just playing backup to them. They are showcased. John Lee Hooker, you have Aretha Franklin, you have all of these amazing R&B and soul artists taking center stage and showing their love for this style of music, and the songs are good and everything, and it's so funny. The movie is so fucking funny. It's like one of those movies that my dad and I will watch together 100 times out of 100 times if it's on, like, the random Saturday on TBS. Oh, Blues Brothers on, let's watch it.
Nice.
It's such a love letter to that style of music, and it's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Johnny, your number 4.
Any top 5 list for musicals wouldn't be complete without a movie from the Disney Renaissance era. Now, I'm not saying that this movie is the best out of that era. What I'm saying is I just love this movie more for its songs and its music. And to me, it's totally underrated when we think about this era. It is Hercules. I
Yeah.
absolutely love this movie. This movie is so good, and the music to it. And I was rewatching it today as I was watching the NBA playoffs to doing that. But it's like, just the story of Hercules itself and using it within a musical backdrop works so well. Of course, I have 2 favorite sequences to it. Go to the Distance is really good. I mean, but Zero to Hero is the most fun out
The
of the 2
best.
songs. I just absolutely love this. I get it. People are wondering, as I only picked one Disney Renaissance movie, so apologies to Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and Little Mermaid and Lion King and Mulan, you know, and Hunchback of Notre Dame. Everything else I'm not forgiving. I'm just saying, for me, I had to at least get one of these movies on my list, and Hercules was it.
Hercules is the one. So I'm going back to talking with my friend Kelly yesterday. Hercules, we were talking about the stage adaptation they're going to do, and then the eventual live action movie they're going to do. If they don't have the chorus, like the muses like singing, what the fuck is
Won't
the point?
work.
Like what are you even doing? So they, like, that's the one thing they better have is those fucking muses, or like not the chorus singing,
Yeah.
the chorus singing to us, because that's the best part in my mind. That's the best part of the music for Hercules. Joe, you are up, sir. Number 4.
This is gonna be a really good classic. It's Rent. I think most people are aware of it. And
I've never hot take. I've never seen it.
it's okay. I mean, because how the thing with Broadway is, back then it's almost never recorded, but nowadays I'm sure there's recording that exists everywhere. And I mean, I don't know how else I can explain it. It's a classic musical about people struggling to, in New York and Manhattan, and also this is about the whole about HIV and AIDS and things like that. That's always a thing, but I think it was just. I mean, what can you say? It made a ton of money. It won a Pulitzer Prize. It won a Tony Award. I'm not saying these are necessary criteria, but
I've
it.
heard the stage show is very crazy. I've heard it's very different than the movie, like
Oh
in
yeah.
terms of it being very experimental, I would say.
Um, it's just done very well. I mean, it's because Rent. It's in the gritty part of the Lower East Village, and it's out there. Again, it's hard to compare live Broadway
Yeah,
musicals
absolutely.
and
I'm just
movies.
saying, like, I've heard people say that have seen the live
Yeah,
performance
yeah, yeah,
in
for
the
sure.
movie. It's
So
just very different.
yeah, there are advantages to one over the other. Now, the Broadway being it's like a show and a play at the same time, whereas the advantage of the movies, at least, it's very carefully put together. Everything, it's impossible for people to like forget their lines or something, or any kind of singer to be off. Everything is like perfected. So there's advantages to both, and I can understand people that like both. But if you haven't seen Rent, I highly suggest it. It I think it aged well. Even if you watch the movie, it's fine. I think the music is amazing. It I think it ran the longest ever on Broadway. I think, which is a surprise that you still missed it. But
Yeah.
I don't really know how popular Broadway is on the West Coast versus the East Coast, because the East Coast just go absolutely nuts for Broadway.
Well, yeah.
So
I mean,
maybe it's that.
Pantages is a big dog.
Right, right. So, and I've seen, like, for example, I sort of started to go off topic, but there's a musical called Avenue Q, which is done by puppets.
Avenue Q's fucking awesome.
It's hilarious. Now, you can watch the original one done well, but when I watched it live, it was like a local college's drama class doing it. And I watched it, it was funny, and then I compared it to the professional one. Now, professional one was better, but they got the essence of it pretty good, and I still enjoyed it. And of course, it cost me like $20 or something, right? Instead of paying hundreds. So, I'm gonna say that, for Rent, anyways, whether you watch it, if you catch it live somewhere, or watch the movie, I think you'll enjoy it very much. I think it elevates what we consider Broadway to be, and I think for a lot of people listening, Rent could very much be their number one. I would not be surprised, but for me, it's my number four, and I think there's a good chance I might have ranked it too low. So there you go.
My number 4 is, if you asked me like 5-6 years ago, I would have considered it my number 1. It's so the rest of my movies that are going to be on here are pretty old, are considered like older musicals. West Side Story is my number 4, and I love it. I love the music. I love the book. I love, all of that stuff. Here's the thing: a lot of these older musicals drag because it's the translation from stage to film. West Side Story drags. There are parts that are just like I found myself like checking my phone, and like before, that never happened to me. And I've just noticing as I've gotten older, like, God, this is kind of dragging a little bit, but I love it so much. It is, done so well and I'm really interested to see the Steven Spielberg one. That one's going to be really interesting, because if they can update that and make it a little put a new coat of paint on it and like really kind of bring it into modern times where things are in America right now, I think it'll be really, really good. My favorite number is, or a whole scene, is the dance hall one, where Tony and Maria meet for the first time. Both sides are dancing, they're doing the mambo. It's fucking incredible. And I really hope that they do it justice with the new one. Johnny, your number 3, sir.
My number 3 is also songs that were written by Alan Menken. This movie is a blend of all genres: horror, sci-fi, romance. and it has Rick Moranis' best performance.
Oh, hell yeah.
It is Little Shop of Horrors.
I was worried you were going to go a different way.
No, I love Little Shop of Horrors. The music is very eclectic, and first of all, the practical effects that Frank Oz uses,
amazing,
great, right? But the song numbers are really great. You get to see a bunch of cameos in this movie playing bit parts, like Bill Murray shows up, John Candy shows up, Christopher Guest shows up. And the funny thing is that my favorite number throughout this whole movie is the dentist scene with Steve Martin. Steve
yeah,
Martin
absolutely.
killed it. The Seymour reprisal is really good. I enjoy that too. But yeah, man, like I am. It was tough because a movie that left off my list was like Rocky Horror Picture Show. That unfortunately didn't make my top 5. But this movie does what Rocky Horror Picture Show does, but to a better level. And it's just so damn fun to watch. So Little Shop of Horrors is my number 3 movie.
Nice. Yeah, it's Steve Martin is the best part of that movie, hands down. And he's the person I think of every time I think of that movie.
So good.
Joe, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is going to be a musical called Chicago.
Yes.
The actual film adaptation that people may be aware of is with Richard Gere, Renee Zellweger. Came out in 2002, and I think I liked it because we did a high school adaptation of it, and I think that I have very, very fond memories of it. It's a very interesting show. Keep in mind, it's about a lawyer trying to get someone out of a murder charge, and he successfully does it. And sorry, spoilers, I guess, but
it's fine.
come on, it
these are
came out in 1975. But it's a very, very gritty musical, and the music in it felt so unique that stuck to my brain that I sort of keep on remembering. And it was just very, very unique to me. And I couldn't look away. I kept on humming it. And I think that's a good indicator of how much I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's definitely got bops.
Yeah. And, that being said, what's Richard Gere been up to, man? I haven't actually thought about him in a while.
Richard Gere is just like the smoothest man.
Yeah, Richard Gere. Oh, Catherine Zeta-Jones was in it, and then Renee Zellweger. But the interesting thing is, there's a lot of very, very good music in it. But my favorite one is Mr. Cellophane by John C. Reilly.
It's so good.
I don't know why I like it because
it's John C. Reilly is putting everything he's got into it.
Yeah,
Mr. Cellophane will be stuck in my head for weeks at a time.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, because it's like you could tell that it's his voice is very, very real. I also like We Both Reach for the Gun. All of it put together was just very, very well done. I highly recommend it to anyone to watch it. It's a great watch. The whole story was really good. It was very, very enthralling the whole time. It was awesome. And that's my number 3.
That's like an honorable. I have so many honorable mentions. But
so many honorable. Oh my god, you don't even know.
Honorable mention on mine. My number 3 is Sound of Music. With the caveat that you stop at the wedding. After the wedding, that movie drags. But we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how Julie Andrews is amazing. She is absolutely the queen. My mom would kill me for saying that because my mom's a big Barbra Streisand fan. But Julie Andrews is absolutely amazing. The best scene and number in the movie is Do Re Mi. And if you want to talk about an earworm, that'll get stuck in your head for a long time. The way she plays to and just slowly breaks down Christopher Plummer in that movie. It's just so believable. It's so beautiful. This movie is so good and happy, and man, I can't say enough good things about it. I have such good memories of this show, and yeah, I could go
Absolute
on for
classic. Absolute
I could go
classic.
on forever about it, but you know,
This has to be one of the few top fives where I have such a long list, and I feel
yeah,
terrible about leaving things out.
yeah. I toiled over this list, but there's something about putting on Sound of Music and these older ones that they're so fun. There's this air about them where you're gonna have a good time, you know. Like Joe said, like Chicago, yeah, there's kind of like a gritty kind of like not gritty, but like it's a
A
show
lot
about
of
a murder, you know. It's
yeah,
about
I mean,
lady
come on.
killing her, you know, killing her the guy she was stepping on her husband with, but you know, it's fun, it's light, they're it's got all that stuff, and it's so I'll put them on when I am in a bad mood and I'm instantly forgetting about stuff, you know. And West Side or no, Sound of Music really does that for me. But we are on to our number 2.
Wait, that being said, rest in peace, Christopher Plummer, though, right?
Yeah, R.I.P. Christopher Plummer.
So sad.
Captain Von Trapp. The dude the dude kept that guy was awesome. I
Just
really loved
worked. He
him.
worked. He did a lot of stuff.
Yeah, he was good in the adaptation of Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. He was good. I don't think I've seen him in a bad movie. But yeah, we are going to move on to our number 2 with Johnny's number 2.
So I wrestled with both these movies, like, because one to me is an absolute classic, but the other one is also a classic to me, but in the different sense of kind of like emotional connection. So I kept flip flopping, and I rewatched both of these movies the past couple days, and so I'll settle with this. Number 2 is Singing in the Rain. I absolutely love this movie. This movie is a great kind of synopsis of the end of silent era cinema, going to kind of like their golden age of musicals that are coming out. Gene Kelly, to me, is a top 3 charismatic actor of all time. You put him on screen, you just kind of smile because he just lights up the room. The comedy in this movie works so well, especially from Donald O'Connor when he does like numbers like Make Me Laugh. Like, that's some physical comedy with the singing and the dancing that it's hard to find top. But and then you got Jean Hagen, who played Lena Lamont, which her voice sometimes reminds me of, God, I forgot the girl's name in Little Shop of Horrors. Is kind of trying to imitate, like they have the same kind of like same tone. But to me, the best musical number, and to me, this is by far, like, if we were to pick musical sequences in any movie, him singing in the rain is the best one ever to be filmed on celluloid. Like, I will take that down and I will argue with any other music to it. To me, it captures not only the theme of the movie, it is so happy to watch because there is just pure joy that comes from him singing and doing the dance numbers while singing on beat as well. Which,
Nice.
asked me 5 years ago, this would be number 1, but there's a reason why I have my number 1 differently. But Singing in the Rain is my number 2.
Absolutely. Great choice. Joe, what's your number 2?
My number 2, it's a newer one. It's a Book of Mormon, and I think that in the modern era of Broadway, it's getting increasingly more difficult to be original. But that being said, people do it. Obviously, it's increasingly more difficult to have a very good original screenplay, a very good original idea, and the fact that the creators of South Park went on this venture really blew my mind. I know that I played the video games they made for South Park, and I thought that was done well. And for guys who apparently work like 200 hours a week or whatever, I really firmly believe that they put in a lot of effort, thought, and time in making Book of Mormon, and it was awesome. Obviously, because it ran for a while, it won a bunch of awards. It made a lot of these singers very, very popular and made their careers and things like that.
It's absolutely incredible.
It is,
Agreed.
yeah. It's just. I thought I'd see hints of like weird South Park things. It does in the sense that it makes fun of
It's crass.
Mormonism, right? Um, it's sort of in the way that South Park would, but not entirely like that. So you do see like Matt Stone's influence on it, and on the South Park creators' influence on it. But I think the fact that, because this is almost like a complete, what's a good word for it? Another path from what they've been doing this whole time. They did animated shows for like 20 plus years. They did like weird, very, very crass video games for very, very long time. And then suddenly they're going to say, hey, we're going to put a really clean, polished, funny, without they're actually poking fun of Mormonism while being accurate sort of thing. And they did it. That's the crazy thing. They were able to do it, and it was so well received, and even people in the Mormon community can sort of take a joke, and it was incredible. Book of Mormon is amazing, and I was able to watch it live, and that's hard enough as is for any of these things to be able to watch it live, but it's a story. You're following basically a guy that wants to follow the Mormon Church and go out there and tell the story of God and things like that. But the music is done so well. The story is put together very, very, very well. And I mean, I just can't say, I can say everything is amazing, incredible, and it deserves all the praise, all that sort of things. So if you can ever catch it, please watch it. I'm not entirely sure if it's still running, but I have to assume that there's videos out there. I don't know. Whatever works. At least listen to the soundtrack. It was
Yes,
amazing.
listen to the soundtrack. It's wonderful.
It was amazing. And that this really applies to all the stuff we're talking about. Listen to the soundtrack. I know that the reason I brought up Avenue Q earlier was that I know that it was an inspiration for a weird reason. It was an inspiration for Book of Mormon.
The creators of Avenue Q wrote Book of Mormon with.
Oh yeah, well even better. I didn't know that was a connection, but yeah, it just I'm glad that I'm very, very glad that Parker and Stone were able to spark this interest and make this, and I think it was an incredible success. And that is my number 2. Awesome.
Great choice, Joe. My number 2 is the same as Johnny's number 2, Singing in the Rain. Gene Kelly is the most suave, leading man of the era. He took that mantle from Fred Astaire, and you see him dance in this film, and you are just glued. It's absolutely one of my favorite experiences watching this. Was with my grandma, and you just I love its place in history as a movie and itself as a historical context in the movie, meaning the changeover to talkies and all that stuff, and how interesting it was. I love everybody in this movie is perfectly cast. My favorite number in the movie is Make 'Em Laugh. Donald O'Connor had to be hospitalized after filming that number because he was so exhausted. That if I'm ever in a bad mood, I can put that on and I can instantly be like, okay, yeah, I feel a little better. Famously, Debbie Reynolds and Gene Kelly fucking hated each other while filming this movie.
I mean, it's not uncommon, right? Come on.
No, but she couldn't dance, and he was getting frustrated with her, and man, they hated each other while filming this movie. It's one of those.
Which one of you told me the '70s show thing, where they the Eric hated fucking everyone on the show?
Probably, I don't know.
But yeah, one of you guys told me, and I was like, yeah, I think in show business, it's common for people to just it's work, and they leave. Because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who have work friends and friends at home. And work friends typically could be people you can just sort of hang out with at work, but you would never hang out on your free time, sort of thing.
I wonder how regular that is in Hollywood.
I mean, Hollywood's a different beast, and there's a lot more money involved, a lot more glamour involved, a lot more drama people involved, a lot more big personalities involved. Does it happen a lot? I want to say no. Does it happen? Is it not as common? It's more common than you'd think. Is what I'd go with.
No, I mean not like just hating them, but like not hanging out, not like having. Like,
that a lot. I think Hollywood people really like their privacy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I finally understood why they buy big ass houses, not necessarily for the flex, but it's like now I have a private area of 20,000 square feet.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
I'm going to spend a week in this section of the wing.
Yeah, basically.
We're on to our number one musicals. Johnny, what's your number one?
So my number one came out in 2016.
Oh,
so this movie is made from John Carney. If you don't know who John Carney is, he's a guy that likes to do, trying to make the modern musical. His first movie was Once. If you guys ever seen that movie, it's two people meet together, they start singing, kind of like a slice of life during that time. Then he did Begin Again, which I didn't think worked really well, even though it had Mark Ruffalo and Keira Knightley into it. But his third movie is his best movie, and it's Sing Street. This movie is a coming-of-age movie, Irish film. The beats are kind of, what you would expect from a coming-of-age movie. But the blending of 80s music with the original music that he did with these kids works really well. My favorite sequence is Drive It Like You Stole It, simply because they invoked Back to the Future to me, and that worked really well within the context of the movie. Also, this was a movie my wife recommended to me that we should go see. Let me tell you something, and she will admit this to you. She is good at recommending TV shows. She's good at recommending maybe music. She is terrible at movies. Absolutely terrible. The movies that she does recommend us to go see, I have never liked. And she knows that. Except for this one. She brought me in, and she could just see the smile and giddiness I have with the movie, because it's a simply well-made movie. And the reason why I wrestle with this is because, this has more sentimental value to me because we saw this together. I think this is like year one or year two of us dating. And thinking about it, I watch a lot of movies. We go to a lot of movies. And this was the first one where nailed it in the head. And that kind of resonated with me a lot. If you guys never heard of it, I know it's a smaller movie, but trust me, that soundtrack alone during that year of 2016, that song should have been playing on the radio like crazy. Like, this is how great I think this movie is. So if you guys have not seen it, it's called Sing Street. It's free on Pluto TV, which I saw, and I hate using Pluto TV. So, but go watch it.
Pluto TV. Pluto TV sponsor the podcast.
Please sponsor the podcast. Yes, but that was 100% on my
Johnny
my
loves
honorary list. TV. Same thing for Nike, Under Armour, Spotify, Apple TV. Please sponsor us.
Joe, what's your number one?
I watched this with Johnny, actually. It's La La Land.
Oh.
And the thing is about this movie is I wouldn't say it's technically the best in terms of singing skill. The one, like, people from Rent, their ability to sing is just through the roof. Singing in the Rain, all sorts of things, and it's just done really well. La La Land, however, I think it was intentional that the people in it weren't supposed to have like super amazing singing abilities, right? So Ryan Gosling. Now, don't get me wrong. Ryan Gosling still sang well. He also played the piano. Like, from what I understand, he learned how to play the piano. John Legend is just John Legend. Emma Stone has a very unique voice as well, and I liked it. I liked that they were able to take, quote unquote, regular people and have them sing quote unquote regularly as if they're humming it. Obviously, there's not necessarily regular people. So, if I had to break it down, the singing in this movie is like a B to a B plus. However, the unique thing about La La Land for me is that the story was so good. Um, I think for a lot of musicals, if you were to just tell the story, it's either very, very short or it's just okay. Because the really the highlight of a musical is the music.
Mhm.
So for example, Hairspray. If you really listen to the story of Hairspray, it's about a mom that hasn't left her house in 30 years or whatever and is suddenly coming out, and then her fat daughter is making her, like, sort of having their moment, her 15 minutes of fame. That's basically the whole storyline. So remember, Hairspray was my number 5, but the story isn't that great, but the music was fantastic. So in La La Land, the music was fine, but the storyline was amazing. I do remember in the theater when I was talking to Johnny about it that at the very end, when because I'm very much a romantic, and he goes, "Oh, Ryan Gosling got back with a girl, and he moved together in France, and they're having a family." Psych! The whole thing was a goddamn dream, and reality sets in. She's with somebody else, and he has his own club, and in a sense, they're both happy. But I'm like, fuck, man, that was so bittersweet, and like dark chocolate, I guess. But it was just well done. It was great, and that's sort of being the twist, quote unquote twist. So that was incredible. I loved it. Damien Chazelle is a great director. The directing and the camera work, awesome. And I think that for all the Whiplash is also good too. By the way, that don't get me wrong, that was also in my other one, but I wouldn't really consider that a quote unquote musical. I'd say. So yeah, it was incredible. It was amazing. I recommend every single person to watch it. If I had to give it a grade for La La Land, it's an A plus. So that's
Nice.
my number 1.
I'm glad you liked it. I never liked it.
Come on, man. Hey, but that's a good thing. You never want like people discussing stuff that all agree on the same stuff. You always want disagreement. That's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. My number 1 is another Julie Andrews joint, if you will. It's the movie that when I think of a musical, it's the first one that comes to mind because it makes me happy. I think about there's not a single bad song in the whole movie. It's practically perfect in every way, much like the woman herself, Mary Poppins. Uh, you know, I think what the sequel got wrong, I was talking about this with my friend yesterday again. It didn't focus on Mary. The Banks kids in the first movie weren't the focus, it was Mary and how she helped these kids. But she was always the focus. I don't think there's a role in musicals in my mind where the actor or actress is so synonymous with the role. Julie Andrews is Mary Poppins. Like the sass, the attitude, just the confidence. The songs are so good. Fucking Dick Van Dyke. How could you be mad at that? Like, how could you not smile when Dick Van Dyke is singing Jolly Holiday? I like it's impossible. It's so good. It makes me want to like cry because it's so fun, it's so engaging, and it's it's absolutely my favorite. I don't know how else to say it. It's a good time, and I don't think this number one's ever going to change for me just because, and it reminds me of Disneyland too. Like you hear, like you'll be walking through and then you hear that song. Everybody knows these songs because it's so ubiquitous with or synonymous with our childhood. It's so intertwined with that point in our lives. I just love this movie. Mary Poppins all the way.
That's my mother's favorite movie.
You
Hell yeah,
know,
dog.
a comment on Julie Andrews. Because the thing is, obviously, that's a different. She had a career that's ridiculously long, and she's the queen of everything she does. I only recently watched her old stuff. What I mean by that is she went on a show called What's My Line. I don't know if you guys heard of this. It's like a movie.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like a show back in like the 60s or something. It's like a show where they blindfold the judges and try to get. Man, Julie Andrews, right? Absolute smoke show. Absolute smoke show. She is
man.
gorgeous. My God. All right, that's my little tangent on Julie Andrews. But again, ridiculously good singer, ridiculously good actress. Gold on everything she touches.
She's absolutely incredible. And
gold.
What movies that you wish we could have made it top 7? If I gave you 2 more to put in.
2 more? Shit.
So if I were to put in 2 more, now this would be number 6 and 7.
It could be 6 and 7, but what's 2 more that you could have
let's assume 6 and 7. I would probably put Grease, just because, like,
it's what you think.
It's super iconic. It's John Travolta. It's him doing some crazy ass shit. And then number 7 might be The Greatest Showman, just because I think it was. I know that the talent was definitely there. A Million Dreams is always a bop for me every time. So that's what I would probably put for 6 and 7.
Mine would probably be Chicago.
Nice.
And boy,
I also like Oklahoma. Like, that's another old
Oklahoma's
one.
a great one. Oh man,
Music Man's always a good one. The Secret Garden's is also a good one.
I think it would be Music Man. I think it would be Chicago and Music Man.
Classic. I mean, there's tons of classics, man.
Yeah. Hey, give me some of the worst ones. You don't have to order them. I know there's a couple right off of our heads. That
you guys tell me your worst ones. I don't really look out for terrible. The ones that are terrible just don't make it,
Cats. Cats is absolutely the worst. The movie adaptation of Phantom of the Opera was fucking terrible.
I mean, Gerard Butler,
the worst
as the Phantom.
Oh my God, I must have blocked that shit out. Gerard Butler played the Phantom in Phantom of the Opera?
And Emmy Rossum was in that movie as well.
And like,
what is he a good? Because here's the thing: the Phantom actually sings. Did he actually sing in this movie?
Yes.
Wow.
I'm not sure, but like he's supposed to be in the shadows, right? Like the Phantom's supposed to be in the shadows, and it's supposed to be this whole thing. He's fucking lit the whole time. He's like, it was a nightmare.
I blame Joel Schumacher on that.
I want to say also for me, the one that I want, Grease 2.
Terrible.
I don't know. You know what it is? Grease did so fucking well. They're like, we got to make a second one.
The second one,
we got to do the second one.
Very bad.
Yeah, again, I don't really. I think
it was great. Also, Mamma Mia. Mamma Mia is a great ass movie.
Oh, I love that too.
Speaking of a sequel we didn't need, Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again.
Yeah,
sure.
like you put everything in the first movie. I'm all like, wait, ABBA has enough to make a second movie, and they did.
I mean, to be honest, ABBA has a lot of songs, but again, it's more of it did well. Let's fucking make 80 more until people hate it.
Annie with Jamie Foxx is terrible. Whoever decided to cast Cameron Diaz as Hannigan.
Oh, you know what? You know what was the most like offensively bad? Like Cats is bad. That Phantom movie was bad, but fucking Rock of Ages was absolutely terrible with Tom Cruise.
They couldn't lip sync
Oh my
correctly.
God, I forgot that was a thing.
It was absolutely a nightmare. I just
wait. Hold up. Sorry, go back. Are you guys talking about Cats the Broadway or Cats the musical or both? Okay.
Both.
It's
the longest. I think like had the probably longest.
The movie was fucking terrible.
Oh God, it was bad. It was It is still the last movie I've seen in theaters. If you can believe that.
What?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because it was like 2019. So if you didn't watch anything in 2020,
the Cats movie came out in 2019.
December 2019.
Yeah.
That has to be the saddest thing I've heard. Like it's like we go to this pandemic and we go, all right, the last thing you're gonna watch is fucking Cats.
I mean, it was pre-pandemic, so Kelly and I watched it. If it wasn't, we both agreed if it wasn't for each other, we would have walked out.
So you guys are trying to like wait.
The
So you guys
whole experience was hilarious. I couldn't stop laughing because it was such a fucking awful train wreck. There were like some middle-aged women in the audience wearing cat ears. They were so into it.
Well, the people who are into the Cat Broadway,
Awful.
I can understand. So they probably
Joe, it's awful. All the way around awful. Also, you want to know another terrible one? By our guy Andrew Lloyd Webber, Starlight Express.
Starlight Express
with people on roller skates, and they're supposed to be trains.
Right.
Boy,
there's a couple other ones like
amazing.
Speaking of Jared's top 5, his sequel, Blues Brothers 2000,
awful.
I might be in the minority. Into the Woods, not good.
Yes,
at all.
Into the Woods. What's that one about?
It's a Sondheim, and it's
Emily Blunt decided to go into the woods.
Yeah,
with James
What?
Corden.
It's like a play on a lot of.
Man,
like
I don't.
fairy
Dude,
tale.
you guys watch some weird shit. Either that, you guys just watch too much.
It's a Sondheim. It's not weird.
Yeah. Okay, I take that.
I mean,
you know what?
Disney did it. So
there was a. This is the last bit I'm going to say about this because I don't like trashing on musicals in general. But there was a movie with Kelly Clarkson
from Justin to Kelly.
Oh my god! But here's the thing: the guy that she was with there was like the second place dude.
Yeah, he was the runner-up, Justin.
Right,
Guarini.
and they decided to make a movie together.
Dr.
That
Pepper,
was shit.
Scoutman. Yeah, that was a pretty bad movie. How do we feel about? So there's a couple movies that I know we left off the list that people are probably like, what? How do we feel about Moulin Rouge?
I liked it. It's terrible.
I liked it. I don't know. I mean, I understand. I absolutely understand people that hated it.
That's funny. I'm kind of in the middle between you guys because he has some good sequences, but it's not like an all timer to me.
I'm not saying it's an all timer whatsoever. Like, how do you guys feel about Les Miserables?
Boring.
Yeah, that's a lot of.
It's okay. It's an absolutely beautiful and wonderful musical.
Too long.
Having the direction of that movie is terrible.
Right.
The decision to have Russell Crowe be Javert is questionable at best. Anne Hathaway was fine.
I think
she's the best part of the movie.
Job. Yeah,
she's the best part of it. She's the only one that actually knew what that play was. So I mean,
are you saying that Anne Hathaway was better than Hugh Jackman, an actual Broadway person?
Anne Hathaway is not better than Hugh Jackman. She's just hotter. That's what it is because we're dudes. But Hugh Jackman is way better
in that movie specifically.
No.
Give me Anne Hathaway.
No, fuck. Get the fuck out of here, Johnny.
Hathaway. His
list is now invalid. What the fuck?
Specifically,
that scene
movie.
When he's in the church stealing, and it's the original Jean Valjean from Broadway as the priest. I was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" Like, you know.
Yeah, I didn't know. I'm just watching the movie, right? So
exactly.
You got to keep in mind, like there's certain things that like when I watch it,
you cannot defend that direction of like zooming in on her face while she's singing, and it's right here.
But you're gonna blame Anne Hathaway for that? That's not.
She's also a bad singer.
Yeah, that's what it is. Like I'm not trying to say she's a shitty person.
No,
you can absolutely critique the fact that her acting, her singing, was not up to par for everyone else.
Didn't one of them win an Oscar?
Did she win one?
Johnny, yeah, she won for that.
Johnny, I think you're the first person to say just because you won an Oscar. Come on, get it.
But if I guarantee you know what? I'll do this research. I'll probably pull up like 10 different random movie reviews, and all of them will be about Anne Hathaway and not so much about Hugh Jackman.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
because because they're wrong. But hey, guys, I don't mean to cut this short, but we got a letter.
Oh, let's hear it.
Okay. This letter is from Gregory. Dear film lovers, been a fan of yours since the beginning. Well, thank you. Each week, I
Awesome.
eagerly look forward to the next theme so I can quickly create my own list and compare it to each of yours. Special shout outs to Jared, who more than one occasion has picked a film I completely forgot about and kicked myself for not thinking of. But this letter is aimed specifically at Johnny.
Haha,
How
nice.
how dare you pick Cinderella as the best live action film? In my opinion, the best live actions remakes are the ones that expand upon the original film and flesh out the world and characters in a way their animated counterparts left wanting, i.e., Jasmine expressing her desires and talents to be capable ruler of Agrabah rather than just stating, I'm not a prize to be won, and storming off to cry at her tiger's back. Where these films fail is when they provide no new content and are essentially a photorealistic shot for shot remake a la The Lion King. All due respect, all due credit to the wonderful cast and crew of Cinderella, but it was such a boring film and it did almost nothing new to add to the story, just a little sympathy for the devil with Lady Tremaine's backstory. While I do recognize it was the original in this new line of live action remakes and did provide a proof of concept for the formula, Cinderella feels more like a prototype than a polished product. Sincerely, Gregory. P.S. Can we possibly do a Coda's Corner where you guys give her a movie title and she guesses the plot?
Dude, yes.
The Weekend at Bernie Sanders absolutely slayed me. It's Weekend at Bernie's, not
yes.
Mr. Sanders.
We need to absolutely, even if it's like for 10 minutes, I would love to do that.
Thank you, Gregory, for writing in. Johnny,
that's
do you have
a very, very
response
well. I was gonna say that's a very, very well articulated and written letter, and he makes very good points. Johnny,
I love Gregory. He's one of the co-hosts I have at Mortal Kombat when we talk about pop culture tournaments. So if you guys want to check out him, he also has a podcast with his wife called Movie Date Night, where they show each other movies they've never seen before, and it's really fun to listen. That being said, he's wrong, absolutely wrong. Like photorealistic shot for shot, this movie was not. Yes, I think he's trying to discount the whole Lady Tremaine backstory because that actually kind of puts more depth of what she's doing. Mm-hmm. Two, Cinderella was just there in the animated movie. My God, like here, she wants to have something more for herself. She wants to be better. She's showing how strong she is. You don't get that sense in the actual animated movie. This isn't a proof of concept. This is the only thing that has worked perfectly so far. He's wrong, and I've told him that. But thank you for the letter. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for the letter. I see where you're coming from, Gregory. That is also nice, but I think that's why the later movies started to tweak more. They started to go to more origin stories, like the Cruella stuff. I really think that with the future movies they're doing, Sword in the Stone, Hercules, that kind of stuff, I think they're going to have a lot of leeway. With these old ones, there's not that much meat on the bone, if you know what I mean, without changing the whole story. And, it's an instance where if you change too much or deviate from that path, can you really call it Cinderella or Lion King or that kind of stuff,
there's a fine line for sure.
Yeah, I think,
it's good to expand on parts of the story. I think the creators or the people who made the movie have to walk that fine line, right? A terrible example is Mulan, where they got rid of the Mushu. Come on, man.
Mulan, when they just got rid of like
everything.
It was such like a soulless, like.
I mean, I think what they're trying to do, aside from the whole appease China thing, is let's appease China and try to expand on it and move in a different direction. It's one of those examples that really did it not well. In regards to shot-for-shot remake, it could be done fine, it could be done well, and it could be well received because it's tried and true, is done well. In regards to expanding a little bit, I think that Aladdin did something to that effect where at least within the confines of the genie, you have to do something different. And they did. Anything else, fine. But I would say you guys both have very good, valid points. But the best point is Dakota should come on, and we should put on movies that she has absolutely no idea what's about. It's hilarious. She was born when Harry Potter came out. Let's put it that way. So,
Don't remind me.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap it. That's enough for today. We're going to wrap it up. You can email us at filmloverspod@gmail.com, and we'll read your letter and have a great discussion about it, like the one from Gregory here. Thank you, Gregory. You will go down as our first letter ever. We really appreciate that. Joe, where can people find us on Twitter? And
we're gonna frame that letter once we hit 5 million listeners.
Sure, I'll frame it in my room if we hit 5 million listeners.
Yes, you can find us on Twitter, on Instagram, Film Lovers GTTG. If you don't want to send us a whole ass letter, that's fine. If you want to just send us a little comment, a DM, a tweet, we would love to hear from you. Tell us what we're doing wrong. Tell us what we're doing right. And we would love to hear about your top 5. Also suggestions like Dakota's Corner that we're going to definitely do. So please hit us up on that. And we're looking forward to hearing from you.
Johnny, where can they find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter, IG at JNO11, JNGO11. That way, if you want to yell at me at how Hugh Jackman was so much better in Les Miserables than Anne Hathaway, then get at it. That's fine. Just make sure you hashtag it as well.
Hashtag Johnny's dumb.
No, Johnny's not dumb. He's just misunderstood. You can find me at JLUTHY on Twitter. Don't add me on Instagram. That would be weird. But add me on Twitter. I tweet about real dumb stuff, what I'm watching, what I'm playing, what I'm listening to, and some pro wrestling. Can't wait. For Johnny and Joe, have a good week, Galaxy Brains.